if you are an entrepreneur and if you're looking to expand or start a business, I think if you look at those businesses, this is probably a pretty good place to go if you're looking to do this for a long time.
Hello and welcome to the Connect podcast brought to you by the Holdrege Area Chamber of Commerce. I am Adam Hernandez, your host and the Communications and Events Coordinator here at the Holdrege Area Chamber. It's a super fun episode today, but before we get into our guest, I want to talk a little bit about our community calendar. Few really fun things happening this week. We've got the Central Nebraska Regenerative Ag Conference. Coffee convos are coming back with the Holdrege Optimist Club at the Phelps County Community Foundation this week. And then we've got the 13th annual Holdrege Craft Show. So head to our website for the details on those events. That's holdregechamber.com and you hit the events tab. Today, we are joined with the mayor of this beautiful city we are in, and that is Jim Liffrig. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Adam. I appreciate it.
It's gonna be a fun chat. You know, we've ran into each other a bunch of times at different events, and I get to hear your point of view on a lot of things, and your perspective is refreshing. So I'm really excited for today.
Thank you.
One of the things we like to do on the Connect podcast is highlight locals, specifically local restaurants. And today we were provided a treat by Katrina's. I really want to focus on the town of Holdrege. And you know, I'm new to the community, so I am learning the way around daily. But you shared some thoughts recently at our annual meeting at the chamber, and it really just inspired me to want to sit down and have this conversation publicly. So before we start, can you share a little bit about your journey and how you landed here?
Well, how I landed in Holdrege was because of a job. And it was kind of interesting. I got into broadcasting. I was a broadcast engineer. I've retired since. And it was, I came from the Twin Cities, big town, you know, and I thought, I'll come in, get a couple of years of experience, and then move on.
Yeah.
And 47 years later, I retired.
Yeah.
So, I would get, you know, it was interesting as years went on, the longer I stayed here, the more I liked big cities to visit, but I didn't want to live there.
Sure.
A lot of advantages. The community's this size, there's enough to do and all of that, but you don't get lost.
Yeah.
If you mean, obviously you're not going to get lost in Holdrege, but you don't get lost in the shuffle and the hubbub. A little bit nicer pace of life, I think.
Yeah. What is the Visit 37 says it very nicely. Slow down, take a break from the fast lane. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what motivated you to step into the role of mayor?
So we had a conversation with some friends, and it was just kind of a challenge of, you ought to run for mayor to change something.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You're just kind of joking around everything. So I thought, what heck. So I started going to council meetings and just sat in the back and just observed. Didn't really participate. And the more I went, the more interested I got.
Yeah.
And I had some talks with Doug Young. He was the former mayor. And it just kind of went from there. And I went ahead and signed up, and here I am.
Yeah.
Yes, but I've been going to council meetings off and on for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I would like to, I really thought when I went in that I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah. Not the case. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because there's so much more. Going to the council meetings or now watching them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we are on, they're streamed, and if you can't be there Tuesday night, they're available, I believe, on YouTube the next day. So there's much more to it, not only for the mayor, but for the council members than what we see at council meetings.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit more to do. And everybody says, well, are you glad you did it? And I'm going, yeah, I am. As a matter of fact, I am. I am kind of enjoying it. I mean, obviously some days are a little, maybe not as enjoyable, but overall, I think it's been a very good, I've had a very good experience.
As mayor, what do you see as, Holdrege's biggest strength or strengths?
Well, obviously, I think it's the people, and some people will look at it. Well, we're not really that diverse. There's a lot of people that have been here a long time. One of the things that I found over the years is there's been a lot of people that have left. They've gone to college and but they have come back. Mm-hmm. And it's what they have done is they brought that larger worldview back with them.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things we've seen, it's interesting. You talk to people that come back for reunions, haven't been back in 20 years, and they go, my, how much the town has changed.
Yeah.
The people that live here, I mean, we live here and every day, we don't really notice it. And I really noticed it on social media with the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
So they moved. What a great deal for Holdrege as the new Dairy Queen. But there was a lot of reminiscing and kind of sorrow that they left the old building.
Yeah.
And I get that. But it's also about moving forward. So, progress, you don't think, as you live here and day to day, you don't think there's a lot of progress. When the fact of the matter is, there is quite a bit. And I think that's probably the most obvious recent one is the moving of the Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
But there's others there's other stuff going on that I think you can see. So as a strength, I think it's the people, the ability to hold on to the old ways, which there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But yet having some people come in and the ability to adapt and move forward.
Yeah.
And make changes.
It's funny you mentioned that. So I am not native to Holdrege,
right,
but my wife lived here,
right,
and so we lived in Kearney, and she brought us back here.
Right.
Lori, right, the CEO here, came here with her husband, and Iron Horse, Cassie Ehrenberg, Ryan brought his family back here. It is a trend, and they leave and then they come back with their family, and I think it's just a nice community to raise kids in. The school system here is great too. Right. You mentioned some progress.
Right.
And at our annual meeting, you talked a little bit about some goals that Holdrege is working on. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Sure. So there's a couple of things, and this was all prompted earlier in a conversation. So the ball fields are for the most part done. Mm-hmm. Yay. And I think that's so. What's going to be the next project? Because that was a big project, and so in talking with the people at the city administrator, Chris Rector, and myself sat down, and we looked at three possible with no priority and no order, but the auditorium, the library, and the pool. Now, the auditorium is an interesting area to talk about because I don't think we can replace that auditorium for the kind of money. So, but it does need to be upgraded. Yeah. The one thing that we found out this summer was air conditioning. But we've known that. But that's something, and that's going to be that's a major project. Yeah. So, what we have done is we will start just after the first of the year. There's a planning grant that'll be available, and we will apply for that. And if we get that, they will come in, and they'll look at the auditorium and see. What needs to be done and everything. We know some, obviously the air conditioning, we think the kitchen could be, the serving area could be, restrooms, that kind of thing. The gym floor itself, we don't know. I mean, I've been told that it's been refinished so many times that there's not much to refinish there. But it's those kind of things. And so what that first grant does also makes us eligible for grants to carry out some of those improvements. Right. And they vary in the amount and how much you have to match and everything else. But again, I go back that if we take this in, we also, one other aspect is there's a historical aspect to it too, that is we still need to investigate. And hopefully maybe the planning grant will help us a little bit with that too. But we can't replace that facility for the kind of money that we're going to put into it. It's going to cost way too much money to try to replace it. And I think it's a valuable asset to the community. The city will never make any money on it,
Right.
but what it will do is have a place in the community. So instead of taking it out of town for a 250, 300 type of like a wedding reception or anniversary or whatever, maybe a small craft fair, things that maybe aren't being here because there's no place to do it.
Right.
We can keep that here, and we can help the rest of the community, the restaurants and the hotel motels, that kind of thing, and just overall helping. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, and that is in the process. And I know you mentioned Cassie Ehrenberg. She's the president of the library board.
Yeah.
And we need a new library.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's a shock to anybody.
No.
And I got to give Cassie and her board a great shout out, because they've said yes, we're going to start, and so they have started on that. And I will plug in here right now, if you are interested in doing anything with the library and moving forward, they are going to be accepting some names, and if you want to get involved, this is a great opportunity to get on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And so get your name in over at the library. They will be able to help you, get you in contact and all of that. And so this is a ground floor opportunity right now. Where is it going to be located? Once that is done, then what is the facility going to be like? What actually is going to be involved in it, and then how are we going to fund it, and all of that. So we're looking for, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but we're looking for, and I challenged them, if they want to have something, it'll have to be on a general election, and the next one is in 2 years. So this kind of gives them a time frame to look at all of these issues and kind of get some decisions and all of that. And hopefully they can have something done so that the community can be informed. So when they go in and vote, because we'll have to bond it, of course.
Yep.
So, and then the last thing that I talked about was the pool. Now this particular project is just getting started. And if somebody has got some ideas or whatever, boy, we if somebody wants to put a committee together, a group of people, we'd be more than welcome to that. We have just started looking into it. The pool is serviceable, but it does have some leaks, and there's a few other minor issues. I want to say that this was built in the 40s, 1940s, we think. I don't know. I'm sure somebody will correct me, which is fine. But that's a project that we're just kind of getting started with. Just kind of came up, and so we'll be looking at that. And there could potentially be. I've heard some talk of some other things coming up, but it's just all very preliminary and just very. We don't know yet. So
yeah, well, that makes sense. Some of the buzz around Phelps County and Holdrege is about growth and some growth opportunities that we see in the near future.
Yeah.
Do you see any challenges for Holdrege as we continue to grow?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anytime growth will be a challenge. Some of it is in housing, and that's a challenge right now as we speak. Going forward, it can actually be, and I think you're kind of referring to the DG fuels.
Yes.
Right. So, is that a challenge or is that an opportunity? It's an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity, and like I spoke to the other day, it's 5 years. It's a lot can happen in 5 years.
Yeah.
Or it's 5 years because you have kids. And how quickly has time gone with them?
Yeah.
This is the kind of, I'm not equating this project to your kids, but I'm just saying how quickly time goes by.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have to be extremely diligent in keeping track of this and keeping on, because 5 years, a lot can happen, but it can also jump on you right now, and you're going, oops.
Yeah.
We had and so I've challenged everybody to kind of keep agile, keep flexible, and keep aware of what's going on around.
Yeah.
So, but I look at it as an opportunity. Some look at it as, I don't know, a challenge, or I'm not really sure how they look at it. But this has a potential to be a great opportunity. And also, as I mentioned the other day, if this doesn't happen for whatever reason, there's still some obstacles to overcome.
Yeah.
Is what it has done is put Phelps County and Holdrege on the map, and has opened it up and said, hey, we're here. We're ready to do business.
Yeah.
And that can only help us. I always realize agriculture is our number one industry, and it always will be. And that is number one. There's no doubt about that. But the more we can diversify that, the better off we all are. So the highs and lows hopefully get overdone. We've been extremely fortunate in Holdrege. Like I say, I've been here 47 years. And in that 47 years, we had BD / now Embecta that has helped even out some of those lean years in agriculture. We also have Allman Brothers, who have just in the last several years have grown.
Yeah.
And there again, it's non-ag related, and it helps smooth some of that out. So if we can diversify even more, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And that would be a huge opportunity.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned almond. I thoroughly enjoy their almond in the wild posts when they just find one in the Big Apple in New York or just anywhere. And I think that's the coolest thing in the world, to see how far our impact of our community reaches.
That's interesting that you bring that up. So my wife and I, this was quite a few years ago, we drove to Northern California. And we went through Salt Lake City. So to give you an idea, it was the 2 summers before the Winter Olympics that were in Salt Lake City.
Oh, sure.
So that'll give you a time frame as where we're at. And as we're driving through, there was massive road construction going on throughout Salt Lake City. That was not a time I would want to have lived there, to be quite honest with you. But you talk about, and it was like, they had their light towers.
Yeah.
Their lighting towers were there, and some of their other products probably. So it was like, well, touch of home. We drive all this far to see the touch of home.
Yeah, it's super cool, and it's similar with Embecta. Their needles are proprietary, from what I understand. So it's not something that's being manufactured anywhere else but here, which is so cool. It's just super interesting.
Yeah.
Holdrege is a very small, tight-knit community. What do you think is the key to keeping that connection alive as we continue to evolve and grow?
Yeah. Do we want to grow? I think we do, because growth will bring us a little some diversity, and I think we're seeing that.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, we see a lot of people that maybe have grown up here, gone to college, someplace Lincoln, or someplace else, and have come back, and they bring that. Again, like I say, that kind of that bigger world view back with them.
Yeah.
And I think smaller towns in their day were somewhat close-knit.
Yeah.
But by accepting others from outside, it helps grow the community, its diversity and its worldview. And I've seen that in the years that I've been here, and I just would hope that it would continue.
Yeah, I agree. I grew up in Kearney, but I lived in Ogallala, and then I lived in San Antonio, Texas. So very different, and I thought Kearney was a good middle ground for that.
Right.
So moving here, personally, I just didn't know what to expect.
Right.
The people, the places. It's a small town, town, but when you get here and you meet people, it's not a small town mentality. It's even with the sculpture garden and the bronzes around town and just the Iron Horse, it's a very jumping town, and it's full of creative people that are just doing very cool things. I think that's very cool.
Yes.
So speaking of events, we've got the Winter Festival coming up, and we've got our Spark card we're pushing out here. How important do you think it is for the city to collaborate with organizations like the Chamber on things like that?
Well, the city, I've only been mayor for 2 years, but I know we've collaborated quite a bit in that 2 years. And again, going back and being in the audience, we've seen the collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce, and now with the Iron Horse Art District. What they're doing, I'm really excited about that. I've seen some of their pop-up art, and in the festival, I thought that Saturday was just absolutely a great day. There was a lot going on.
To see so many people, those people came for art.
Right.
That's such a beautiful thing. Right. There was so many people out just to celebrate art. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that is, all of that is extremely important. There's several other private organizations that do things in which the city helps them with. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it requires street closure.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have done is we've streamlined that. And this is something that I talked with the city administrator with. And we just felt that it was really no reason to have to go to the council for every one of these.
Right.
Especially when, and again, in my observation was, you go before the council and they would give out their plan and they go around to ask the utilities, no, we've already talked, everything's good. Talk to the chief of police, no, we have no problems. Is there anything different from last year? No, it's the same as last year. And it was passed and it was moved on. And I thought, I really feel as though the council should be looking at maybe a bigger, broader picture. And that most of this was administrative type of stuff that was going to be handled at the city level, and with the city administrator, utilities, streets, and all of that. Plus, then having to bring somebody in to sit through a meeting for 2 or 3 minutes that's going to get improved anyway. So that's what we've done, and I think it's helped. I think it's helped, and I'm hoping that people will be more. If they got an idea, that they can go to the city administrator and say, hey, what do you? If he feels though it's something that maybe the council should look at, then it goes. Otherwise, the decision is his and it moves forward. Much easier for the organizer, for the city, and for everybody else. And so that's one of the things we've tried to do a little bit, and I hope it's working.
Yeah, no, I wanted to say that too. With the work we've done with Swedish Days and Winter Festival, and I helped a little bit with the Iron Horse stuff, we are so appreciative of the city. Chris Rector and Dane Jensen, they're amazing to work with, and they're so helpful. So definitely shout out and the city workers. They're just amazing to work with. Yes. Everybody is just amazing. So the last thing I wanted to ask you, we like to end every episode with one piece of business advice. Sometimes it's life advice. But is there any kind of advice you'd like to leave the people of Holdrege with?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Recently, Phelps County Development Corporation had their awards banquet.
Yeah.
And of the awardees this year, one of them in particular was third generation business here in Holdrege. Started here, and they're up to their third generation. Previous awardees are the same thing, second and up to third generation. Wow. So I guess in that light, if you are an entrepreneur and if you're looking to expand or start a business, I think if you look at those businesses, this is probably a pretty good place to go if you're looking to do this for a long time.
That's absolutely right.
So I really encourage people to if you're looking at that, maybe Holdrege isn't such a bad place.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I know of 3 right off that are second and third generation businesses that have been started here. Maybe they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Maybe the community's doing something right. And so if we could, I would encourage people to look at it from that standpoint.
That's great advice. And like I said earlier, there's so many creative people here. Creative in the creative sense, but also creative in just being able to get things done.
Right.
There's lots of help here, lots of people who are willing to do anything just to make sure people are successful. So I agree. I think that's great advice.
Great.
I want to say I'm thankful for your perspective on everything, and I look forward to doing more work with you. And
Okay, absolutely. Hey, thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Anytime we can communicate, it's that much better, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Absolutely.
right. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Adam.